ke-25 venture capital, puluhan angel investor, dan ratusan startup global dan regional hadir di acara Global Venture Summit 2017 di Nusa Dua, Bali. Konferensi yang berlangsung selama 3 hari ini memfokuskan pada pembangunan ekosistem bisnis startup di Asia Tenggara, mengumpulkan dana para pengusaha dan investor sukses untuk bertemu dan mendanai generasi para pendiri bisnis startup berikutnya. Bagi para investor, negara-negara Asia Tenggara seperti Indonesia menjadi pilihan tepat karena diproyeksikan keuntungan tumbuh besar 5,7% di tahun 2017-2018 atau hampir 2 kali lebih cepat seperti di Amerika Serikat. Salah satu investor asal Amerika Serikat menilai Indonesia sebagai negara yang berkembang pesat dengan populasi pengusaha startup yang cukup tinggi.
Yeah. So there's a huge opportunity. There's a reason lots of venture funds are coming here, including us. The amount of capital going into the region, kind of crossed 2 billion last year, which is a huge milestone. You're seeing a lot of, lack of a better term, unicorn companies that have raised, at billion-dollar valuations with Gojek and several others.
Selain bertatap muka langsung dengan perusahaan besar dan investor, para penggiat startup di acara Global Venture Summit kali ini berkesempatan mengikuti ajang kompetisi berhadiah $50.000 Amerika, serta berkesempatan mengunjungi kawasan Silicon Valley, Amerika Serikat. Dari 45 peserta yang mengikuti kompetisi startup teknologi kreatif, Octagon Studio dengan aplikasi augmented reality, sebuah game card 3D yang ditujukan bagi pendidikan anak-anak keluar sebagai pemenang.
Jadi itu kita bikin augmented reality application yang harus di-download lewat App Store sama Play Store. Lalu sebenarnya bisnis model kita itu ngejual produk flashcard. Nah, produk flashcard ini bisa didapetin dengan harga sangat affordable, hanya 55.000 saja di Indonesia. Lalu Mbak download aplikasi di App Store sama Play Store secara gratis. Lalu setelah download aplikasinya, Mbak tinggal ngeluarin kartunya aja, terus handphonenya di point ke si flashcardnya. Lalu ada 3D konten 3D yang sangat menarik yang bakal keluar dari si kartunya itu. Cuman pasti lihatnya dari screen ya. Gitu. Dan ini kegunaannya apa sih Mbak? Untuk edukasi sih Mbak. Jadi sebagai educational learning tool for kids.
Penggiat startup di tanah air dengan kekuatan teknologi digital saat ini sedang tumbuh subur. Tingginya jumlah pengguna internet yang mencapai 80 juta orang menjadi peluang menjanjikan bagi para penggiat startup mengembangkan usaha. Bahkan investor dan capital venture di bidang digital technology turut melirik Indonesia sebagai kawasan berpotensi untuk menanamkan modal mereka. Ayu Ngurah Dewi, Badung.
Yang kemarin ke London itu ada yang
Startup. Sekarang kalau kita bicara mengenai bisnis, kata startup itu pasti langsung menjadi populer. Apalagi startup yang berbasis teknologi. Nah, di Indonesia saat ini kita sudah memiliki lebih dari 1.300 perusahaan startup. Dan pemerintah juga berencana untuk melahirkan ribuan jumlah startup yang diharapkan akan membantu membuat perekonomian Indonesia khususnya ekonomi kreatif itu jauh lebih bergairah. Nah, biasanya apa yang dibutuhkan oleh sebuah perusahaan startup itu adalah pendanaan, dibutuhkan investor. Nah, pada saat ini di Bali diadakan Global Venture Summit untuk mempertemukan antara investor dan juga para pemain startup itu sendiri. Nah, Insight kali ini berada di Bali untuk berbicara langsung bersama penyelenggara Global Venture Summit. Ia adalah Ahmed Shabana, dari Managing Partner dari Parkpine Capital, dan dia sekarang juga berada di Bali. Hello, Ahmed.
Good morning.
How are you?
How are
Welcome
you?
to Bali.
Thank you for having me.
And it's a great atmosphere, Global Ventures Summit for the first time being done.
Exactly. Everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy. Now, why Bali? Why now? And what would you like to get out of this event?
Great question. So why now? Because what's happening in Indonesia and this part of the world, the high growth and the appetite for foreign investments to come to this part of the world, and why Bali? Because of the obvious reasons. When you tell speakers or investors come to another city, metropolitan city, that don't want to really leave San Francisco or the U.S., but when you tell them Bali, okay, when am I coming? So that's why Bali, and we want to make.
And everybody's excited to get to Bali.
Exactly, absolutely, and they bring a family, and they mix pleasure and they mix business. So it's a great combination, and we want to really have it annually every year in Bali and make it the biggest technology conference on the planet within the next 5 years. So far we've been very successful for year one. We're happy everybody's happy, and hope they're coming again next year.
Now, Ahmed, why? What can we find in this type of summit? Who are we meeting here, and where do they come from? Because I hear there's a lot of Silicon Valley, bigwigs descending on this island. Tell us a little bit about what the content and what the summit is all about.
Of course. So basically, these people are coming here, investors. Mostly of the speakers are investors from the U.S. who have an appetite for this part of the world. They see the high growth. The customer acquisition cost is so low at this stage that they see the opportunity. Then within the next 2 years, it's not going to be the same. So they're actually hedging their situation and diversifying their portfolio by coming here and trying to write more checks and getting to meet these startups, and then probably make the investments in the coming months.
Tell us a little bit about the startups situation in the United States. Is it getting saturated now? Is that what you're saying? But while at the same time there's still a lot of money looking for that next unicorn.
Right. Well, Silicon Valley is a great place, a very unique place, and what's great about it is the soft infrastructure. If you want to start any kind of startup, you're going to find all the service that complements what you're trying to build. If you want to have like a subscription service, you're going to have the tools to do that, for example. But what's also challenging, as you said, is the saturation, and that you really have to add real value if you want to be not just raise capital, but also be profitable and be a unicorn, as you said. But here, there's a lot of potential to take technology from the U.S. and adapt to the culture. And that's why a lot of the investors are coming here.
What kind of opportunities, particularly for Silicon Valley investors, when they go to this part of the world? Not just Indonesia, but the Southeast Asia and the ASEAN countries in general, because we are sort of the emerging market. We are, where the young demographics are, and we are where growth actually still happens in our economy.
Right. I mean, the models that are successful in the U.S. that with a cultural twist that it's working here. For example, I would say a Gojek example, but things that adapts to what people are already doing, but with a component of a technology part from the U.S., this makes a lot of investors, okay, this is a good, probably an opportunity. And they ask also the local VCs to, maybe in the first round, they have a co-investment and then probably lead later on.
You mentioned the Gojek, and actually, the platform is similar to the Uber. It's the idea of the ride sharing, and yet it has the local twist. It has that Indonesian flavor to it, using motorbike taxis, for example. So there are quite a lot of startup companies also present in this summit. Can you tell us, what are your thoughts about them? What do you see? I mean, do you see any exciting ideas coming up?
Yeah. So. On the top of my head, there's like 2 really great startups. One that does what Alexa in the US is doing, but in Bahasa. So like a little bit of an AI component and machine learning in this part of the world. So they're doing a great job. And another one, for example, that adapts to the culture is the habit of cooked meals at home. So they're instead of just trying to do a delivery service, they try to empower women to sell their cooked meals from home, which is a great idea, and I think it's going to be very successful. So these kind of ideas that have a cultural twist with a technology component, I think it's going to be very, very successful.
How do they compare startups in Asia and also particularly here in Indonesia compared with, for example, the startups in the US?
I think they're closely seeing what's happening. there going to be an increase in the ticket price in the seed round. So now seed in the US is Series A here, as everybody knows. So 2 million check would be Series A here. So that's going to change very soon because the growth and everybody's acquiring customers now at a low cost, that this is the right time. And so I think you're going to hear a lot of great deals happening during maybe today or a couple of weeks after GVS. And yeah,
and I hear there's going to be a pitching battle as well.
Yeah,
so tell us a little bit about that, because I'm sure this is very exciting and can actually encourage some, the startups. This is a good way to get, your projects, funded.
Exactly. We're really happy that the Global Venture Summit is the first international technology event in this part of the world. I'm not going to just only say Bali. There's a lot of great conferences, but we're really the first to bring international, especially from Silicon Valley, to here. And to even make it greater, the $50,000 pitch battle competition is going to get more people excited. And I think it's the first. And we have over 30 startups participating. It's going to be just 5 minutes. So I understand it's going to be nerve-wracking, but it's not just about winning. You get yourself exposed, and there's a lot of other investors in the room that are going to come meet you and write checks.
What would create the winner?
A lot of things. It's a tough question. So it's a mix of if you know what you're doing, if there's validation, if there's the background of the team, a lot of really great things that you try to see less risk in different startups. And then I think there's not only one winner, it's going to be many, many winners. Like pitch battles always have other great companies coming out of it. So it's a platform that will create a lot of successful companies.
You had 5 minutes, it's not that long to present your ideas, but normally what are they looking for? I mean, in the first couple of minutes of presenting, what do potential investors really say? Okay, this is good, or
yeah, so they want to first know what position the startup is. Is it like pre-revenue? Is it like already validated or not? Like, what are you really making money, or are you just still validating? Or if not, what's your background? You want to start something like this? If you're like in advertising, have you worked 20 years and bringing your clients to this new startup? And then if you know your numbers, you really have to know your numbers and why this is different than anything else. So
it's not necessarily the product. Say, for example, I come up and say, yeah, I've got this great idea for an AI that can actually clean my house in 10 minutes and it doesn't use any electricity or whatever.
Exactly, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you know, if you already been in that business for 20 years and you have the database of these customers and you decided to switch that, then you'd be very interesting, right? Even if you haven't really started it. So it's so it's a mix of a lot of things.
Okay, I hear there's quite a few venture capitalists there and also angel investors. What kind of investment are we talking about that is available for potential startups to really tap into and take advantage of if they can come up with the right ideas and the right product?
I think the U.S. investors are very open. They just want to understand that there's return. So the checks can be from like 20,000 up to like a couple of million. So you just need to tell them that there's going to be 10x returns or like 5, something that's really deserves their ROI, because at the very end they're going to report to their LPs and they want to compare that to the US performance. So you need to think like an investor and really be able to convince them that you're going to be delivering. So I would say you can really get like a big check from these guys if you know what you're talking about.
But what would get you excited, Ahmed, when it comes up with a new startup coming to you? Is it the product, or is it the potential? Is it the scalability, or what are we looking at?
It's definitely scalability, how fast this can happen, and if there's any IP. But I'm more excited in this region about scale and how quickly this can happen, and really about the team. Like I love people from this region and how passionate about it, making these teams that can work very well together. And I think I enjoy. You're going to spend a lot of time with the company if you're investing in it. So. It's a very long relationship, like marriage, as people say. One of the speakers was just saying these VCs startup relationships last longer than the average marriage. So it's a really commitment, and So the team and definitely the scale and the validation that you can scale.
But do you see any sort of big difference? Because when we talk about the different characters, but also the cultural approach. Example, Indonesians, Southeast Asians, obviously very different to, for example, Europeans and Americans. But do you see differences in maybe approaches to how to create a product, or how to market, or basically just how to collaborate amongst all the Asian startups? That's very different, for example, from the Americans.
I mean,
Silicon Valley is used
right.
to.
So it's I think it's not just only Indonesians who are launching startups in Indonesia. So there's a lot of people from different parts of the world who are trying to operate in this region, and that's making Indonesians very like jealous. Okay, no, it's our market. We want to do something that's great for the country. So I think
there's the social entrepreneurship component. We want the startups to not just make money for the investors and for the people, actually can do good for the country, come up with real solutions to real problems, right?
Yeah, I think that's a great angle. If you can do that from the beginning and make money also of it, that would be great.
Which is very important.
Yeah, of course. But because some people, I'm just going to be focused, and maybe later the money will come. But it's really important to have both.
I think that's why this Gojek model is very successful, because it also addresses the consumer need for speedy transportation, or whether it's to get your deliveries done much quicker and cheaper, but also to create work, to create jobs for people who need jobs.
Exactly, and it took a couple of years before it's Gojek, right? Like it launched, and people were maybe skeptical. They were trying it, and then. But because of the principle is based on what people are doing every day, I think that's why it was successful.
What would you say, because I hear that, with 1,000 startups, hundreds would die and only a few would actually survive sustainably. What would be the key component that enables a startup to actually become like the well-established, like an Uber or the Airbnb, and these types of
I think at this stage,
companies?
I think at this stage, the support of everybody in this region is great. Like the government here is very supportive, and there's a lot of government agencies that are supportive to these startups. So I think maybe we need here a longer time to support these companies to see.
When we say longer, how long? 1 year or 5 years or 10 years?
No, I wouldn't say 10 years for sure. Like, but maybe give them more support than since it would be like a regional initiative, because also the president is very keen on bringing more Silicon Valley interest in the region to just back them up with whatever resources that would just buy them more time and reduce their burn rate, so they have more oxygen to breathe. So, but I can't say an exact time, but different startups have different timing. But
you just have to be more patient, and then and if things don't work out,
just pivot.
Not panic, or pack your bags and
exactly. You need to have
again. But other than the financial aspect, which is obviously maybe the easier part of the component, what other things can the Silicon Valley experts bring, particularly to a country like Indonesia, where we are still developing in all sorts of ways? There are human resources, education, and just the capability to be a good entrepreneur is still very much at its developing stage.
Right. I think there can be technologies brought from the valley to here. There's a lot of, for example, there's a social app that the technology is developed in the U.S., but it's acquiring customers in Asia. So maybe these kind of collaborations between maybe social influencers and technologies in the U.S. can make something big here. So something like that would be great, bringing more know-how to this region, and also combining that with the growth to make something really great.
Adaptability is a very important component. Obviously, you can have a good product and you think it's great, but then actually once it's out in the market, suddenly, okay, nothing seems to be going on so much. How to make sure that whatever it is that you're creating will have a consumer excitement or acceptance?
That's a great question. I think to be adaptable, you need to have a background or passion to what you're trying to do, because if it's not working or it's not picking up, you got to be changing things, and this change is going to come from experience, or of course persistence is great, but it would be very beneficial if you have something that you can leverage from your work experience or your network. So, so you don't lose hope, as you said, in the first months or first year, and it takes many years for an overnight success. So, so I think being adaptable with the right background and the right network is very important.
Mm-hmm. What sort of background do you see as you know, for a startup company? They always ask them, you know, what do you look for in a startup company? And they always say, oh, it's the team. I mean, what's your perspective on this, and what kind of people would you like to, you know, put your money on when it comes to startup companies?
I think so. The right people has a lot of. I like people who treat each other really well, and even in very stressful and tough times. And if they're you also look at the history of why these guys are coming together. They just meet yesterday at the conference and just started to launch something, or did they really have 2 or 3 years that they've been working together at an agency or a consultancy firm, or even at school? Do
they have to be smart people, educated people, people with, you know, experience, or can they just be anybody?
Anybody really can do it, as long as it's you know, they're taking it like their life is depending on it, and that they're in it for the next 10 or 20 years, and you can feel it once you sit with the team, is that this is the right relationship, that they're going to be even making it better, and they're not just focused on, okay, write me a check or give me the money. Now it's about how we're going to acquire the next.
I want to be the next Steve Jobs.
Yeah, no. It's not gonna. It's like, how are we going to be better? Let's can you connect me with these guys to, you know, have more success here from the U.S., for example? How can we reach the next 1,000 or couple of thousand customers? So questions like that, you can spot if it's the right opportunity.
What kind of things would you like to see come up from Indonesia when it comes to the products that addresses that can solve existing problems? I mean, given the huge size of the country, just the sheer variety of, you know, communities and the different types of problems. I mean, give us some examples of things or products or services that you think, wow, this is gonna really good.
I think fintech, the fragmentation.
Fintech's growing.
Yeah, like the fragmentation of the payment platform, being people still paying here with bank transfers. That's not going to be.
There's that lack of trust still when it comes to
it's not,
the security of the system.
And it's a big opportunity for someone coming in and just consolidating all that to some extent, and just have one payment platform or wallet that would ease things happening, and it's gonna have to happen very soon. So this is something that I'm very excited about, and maybe we're gonna get involved into that with one of the.
Tell me a little bit about what kind of things would you like to be involved in?
So part of this fintech is all about policies and the right connections with the right people, maybe in the government or the policymakers. So we're trying to work with the right people to have one payment method or one wallet that would act as a
sort of like a PayPal thing or a Bitcoin thing?
Yeah. I mean, like maybe a PayPal thing or something that's easier than a bank transfer. People would just, you know, immediately pay, and it's not only powered by a startup. So there's a lot of startups that create their own wallet or their own payment platform, something that's can work with any customer, and then also can have customers from the US. So
yeah, that's one. Infrastructure is still one of the main problems here in Indonesia, like bandwidth, for example. And the other thing is, of course, just the security aspect of it. How much is security and the potentials for hacking and fraud and so on? Is this sort of
this part
hindering the growth of technology-based in services?
I think this part can be outsourced to the right people, like especially if you're talking about security here and working with fintech with security. You can always make sure that you're at par with all the great companies in the US. So this component can be easily taken care of, and then just start making it happen, right? And see, because if you're just too scared to go forward,
But is this not also a problem everywhere? There's potential for hacking, security. I mean, what happened to Yahoo, for example, and
right. Of course, it's a problem everywhere, and it happens in politics and in not just startups. But but I mean, you still have to go forward and just let this part. You let go of this fear, because you're not gonna move forward, and just work with the best security teams or companies to make sure that you're on the right track. And this is why there's a lot of tech security companies are out there trying to develop.
And what I notice about especially the digital or technology-based applications is, because we are operating in a virtual world, there is, it's borderless, which means that me here in Indonesia, you in the US, we can just basically do the same thing at the same time. And it's now we are seeing sort of the regulatory aspect of it. That's actually people trying to navigate their way. What sort of regulation do you think would be perfect for the virtual world when it comes to companies fulfilling their tax obligations?
Right. That's a great question. I think governments would have to work with each other on making things
like another United Nations,
something like that, like the digital world.
Yeah,
something like that. But of course, it's competition, because you're getting more money in the country. So it's tricky, because you want to have both. You want to be open to everybody and work with governments, but at the same time, you're competing for the same customers. So a customer in the U.S. paying for an Indonesian company, Indonesia likes that, but maybe maybe the U.S. wants to have more. The company wants to have more in the U.S. So it's about I think fair competition, and I think the governments should fast track this to this region. So for Indonesia, more openness to help the startup being more competitive.
I mean, that's why it's called disruptive economy. It disrupts. Right. But I think, are we getting to a point, or are we getting close to that point where it's no longer a disruptive economy? It is the economy, and everybody else who has not kept up, just either they adapt or they die. Is that going to be what the future is for?
Definitely. It's I would expect, because there's a lot of also development houses in Bali, like Australia and US. There's a lot of the radar development houses that are doing great things, and they're doing a lot of I would say potentially disruptive technologies, and has no restriction on geography. So we're going to see has nothing to do with geography. So we'll see what's going to happen.
Do you yourself believe that this will be the end of the brick and mortar, some kind of business, and everything would just have to be based on digital, online? Is that inevitable?
No, I think the opposite, actually. I think there's going to be a lot of immersive technologies that will let you enjoy shopping more. So you're going to get into the store and really interact more with what you like. So for example, grocery store, like you would actually see more more interaction with the product. And of course, the very famous Amazon store example, you can actually go in and pick whatever you want, and then there's no cashiers, or you can get charged whatever. So these examples are gonna happen actually. So opposite what people think is gonna die, actually it's the start of something very interesting.
Okay, let's go back to Global Ventures Summit. When you packed your bag, you go back to your country. What sort of takeaways would you like to?
I think we'd be interested to get involved with more startups from the region. We're going to be investing with some of the local VCs here, getting more involved with them. We're going to be preparing for a bigger Global Ventures Summit, so Parkpine Capital will probably announce more activities until the next year, but we're going to have more.
Are we going to see another one in Bali
every year, even bigger and better, and it's going to be, we're dedicated to making the biggest on the planet, and we will do.
Okay, well, sounds like a very ambitious plan, but something that definitely we need. Ahmed, thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy your stay here.
Thank you, Desi.
And
Lovely.
hope to see you next year.
Exactly, we will do. Thank you so much for having me.
Ya, demikian bincang-bincang kita bersama penyelenggara ya, pemerakarsa dari Global Ventures Summit, Ahmed Shabana. Setelah yang berikut ini kita akan berbicara dengan narasumber lainnya, masih mengenai startup, perusahaan-perusahaan startup khususnya di Indonesia. Ya, kita lanjutkan insight seputar Global Ventures Summit 2017 yang diadakan di Bali, persisnya di Nusa Dua dan Pasar, dan kita akan kali ini bertemu dengan Hari Sungkari, Deputi Infrastruktur BEKRAF ya, yang hadir juga pada Global Venture Summit ini. Bagaimana Hari?
Baik.
Kehadiran Indonesia ini kan Global Venture Summit ini untuk pertama kali diadakan di Bali. Signifikansinya bagi kita, apa yang kita bisa peroleh dan kenapa penting adanya acara seperti ini di Indonesia?
Saya bicara mengenai ini ya, ekosistem startup ya. Salah satu yang saya pelajari mengenai startup ekosistem, satu adalah we have to be open kepada siapapun, tapi for the benefit of Indonesia. Itu ada conditionalnya. For the benefit, kita harus open. Opennya terhadap apa saja? Terhadap startup yang lain, juga terhadap pendanaan, funding. Nah, this is what about Global Venture is. Mereka datang dari luar negeri.
Termasuk dari Silicon Valley, dari Amerika Serikat,
ada
pasti
beberapa
membawa investasi cukup besar ya potensinya.
Nah, tapi pada akhirnya kita tetap harus punya satu pegangan. The most benefit for the Indonesian startup. Jadi saya bilang kepada mereka, look, ini negara kita ini punya potensial sedemikian besar. Nah, sudah terbukti beberapa tahun terakhir di digital besar. We have also talented people, tapi kita memerlukan banyak bantuan. So, we said, bring your investment here. We give you our market. But you have to employ the startup for Indonesia.
Tapi kan berarti kita juga harus bukan saja membuka diri, tapi supaya mereka mau berinvestasi khususnya pada startup kita harus memamerkan lah apa yang kita miliki. Nah, apa yang kita bisa tawarkan kepada mereka saat ini?
Sebelum kita buka seperti ini, kita harus punya bargaining power, and to have that government, kita harus punya PR yang kemarin kita lakukan. Ya, satu talent. Kita harus bangun talent. Nah, sejak BEKRAF itu didirikan di tempat saya, kita sangat komit untuk membangun talent. Talent baik itu entrepreneurs maupun profesional yang nanti bekerja di situ. Dan this talent is not kualitas seperti yang biasa-biasa, harus excellent. Jadi kita punya tanggung jawab untuk membangun startup yang excellence dan talent yang nanti bekerjanya yang excellence juga. Marketnya sudah ada. So, kalian datangin aja duitnya. Mungkin beberapa orang bisa membantu kita di teknologi, di sistem market.
Nah, apa yang selama ini sudah BEKRAF lakukan? Karena BEKRAF kan sekarang saya lihat timnya jauh lebih komplit ya. Sudah ada 400 orang dan budgetnya juga ada tentu saja.
Ya, baru.
Jadi selama ini apa-apa saja yang sudah dilakukan dan bagaimana cara mencari, menggali dan juga menumbuhkan talent-talent itu di Indonesia?
Nah, ada di tempat saya ada 2 path, satu membangun talenta itu, satu lagi membangun entrepreneurs. Ini kita punya program namanya BEKRAF for Pre-Startup. Nah, kita tahu bahwa menurut data di dunia dari Forbes atau dari tempat lain mengatakan hanya 10% startup yang bisa berhasil. Ya. Nah, kita aware sekali. 2 tahun yang lalu kita buat kumpul semua, saya undang semua inkubator, startup yang gagal, dan pemerintah juga kementerian. Kita temukan bahwa banyak beberapa startup itu sebenarnya mereka belum tahu cara mengelola bisnis. Kedua, forming dari teamingnya itu nggak tepat. Either mereka semua orang bisnis with no product, itu juga nggak bagus, atau full of product with no business, nggak tahu cara menjualnya. Jadi kita mengajarkan kepada mereka, salah satunya adalah if you want, kalau kita mendirikan startup, berpartner dengan orang yang komplement terhadap skill kita. Kalau saya seorang salesman, cari orang yang ngerti teknologi. Kalau saya seorang financial, cari orang yang ngerti teknologi. Atau sebaliknya, seorang teknologi, cari orang yang ngerti finance. Itu ajarkan, supaya nggak gagal. Ketiga, make a product that is required by the market. Nah, ada namanya metodologi lean innovation, di mana kalau kalian membuat produk atas problem yang ada, itu akan sustain. Karena market akan terpaksa memakai. Ajaran. Nah, kita punya program itu 3 yang sudah dijalankan tahun 2016.
Nah, ini bagaimana hasilnya sekarang?
Kemarin dari 1.100 orang, lahir 50 startup. Bayangkan, dari 1.100, hendak 50. Jadi kalau mau pilih 100 ya mesti gitu. Nggak gampang. Tapi we have to done that. Dan itu filteringnya banyak. Sampai di tengah jalan kalau mereka nggak ini keluar. Beberapa ada yang mengundurkan diri karena mungkin mereka secara mentality. Selama 3 bulan itu kita kasih knowledge dan mentality. Because being a startup, hidup tuh nggak gampang-gampang. Mentality. Startup itu jatuh bangun. Itu skill yang harus kita bangun.
Jadi misalnya untuk membuat satu startup itu sukses, kira-kira yang paling penting ya tadi yang tentu saja timnya kan penting kan, tidak semua kalau pemilik ide kreatif bukan semuanya kreator, yang ada malah berantem terus produknya nggak jelas. Tapi harus ada kombinasi, misalnya paham ide, paham pasar, paham finance dan lain sebagainya. Tapi selain itu apa-apa saja yang diperlukan supaya nanti memang startup ini tidak hanya di start aja, tapi up and away, dan kalau bisa menjadi besar.
Bangun ekosistem. Mereka perlu mentor. Jadi selain itu kita bikin jaringan mentor. Ini what happen di tempat startup ekosistem tempat lain seperti Silicon Valley. Selain ada startup, ada mentor-mentor.
Nah itu mentor-mentornya biasanya didapatkan dari mana?
Kita cari ya beberapa startup yang perusahaan udah sukses, atau para eksekutif dari tempat lain, atau tidak tertutup kemungkinan kita datangkan dari luar negeri juga. Ya. Baik-baik kalau si mentor ini mau mengasih seat, ya. Ini yang terjadi. Jadi memang budaya sharing dan kolaborasi harus terjadi. Jadi kalau kita di startup ekosistem yang lain, bukan hanya karena ada duitnya dan ada talentednya, tapi karena ada budaya kolaborasi, budaya gotong royong. Sebenarnya kita punya dulu. So di Silicon Valley itu dicerita di dalam buku kita, mentor datang kepada startup, dia memberikan $10.000. Belum tentu itu kembali. Waktu ditanya, mentor kenapa gitu? This is my time to giving back. Karena 20 tahun yang lalu ada yang membiayai saya. Itu yang kita harus bangun. Jadi bukan budaya itu sharing, juga kontribusi. Itu harus kita bangun. Nah, mentor itu harus begitu. Terus ada lembaga financing. Nah, lembaga financing ini juga yang unik karena bukan dalam mazhab perbankan, tapi seperti angel capital, venture capital. Karena para startup ini tidak punya kolateral. Kolateral dia apa? Intellectual property, hak cipta,
apa yang dia ada,
ya, trademark. Nah, BEKRAF mempunyai satu deputi yang membiayai itu dengan gratis. Siapapun punya produk kita daftarkan hak cipta dan mereknya. Ya. Terus BEKRAF juga punya deputi akses permodalan. Negara, pemerintah belum bisa kasih modal, tapi kita mengajak monetary authority, ya, OJK, perbankan segala untuk masuk ke sini. Ini bisnis baru, kita harus nyusun bersama. Lalu ada akses pemasaran. Ya, kita kadang membawa mereka untuk ikut trade show di Tokyo, kemarin di Southwest SX di Texas. Saya juga membawa beberapa delegasi ke CeBIT di Jerman. Ya.
Nah, BEKRAF sendiri memiliki target kira-kira berapa misalnya startup atau entrepreneurs yang dicetak per tahun idealnya minimal?
Tahun lalu 50, tahun ini saya punya target 100. 100
Apa
startup.
yang strateginya sehingga bisa 2 kali lipat?
Nah, strateginya tentu cari talent. Nah, di satu
Talent
itu
scout-nya seluruh Indonesia.
seluruh Indonesia. Makanya di saat itu kita punya lagi satu program namanya BEKRAF Developer Day. Tahun ini kita jalankan di 10 kota. Ya, ini udah 3 kota kemarin, ada Bogor, Manado, Solo. Masing-masing di atas 500 yang datang. 2 minggu lagi kita akan ke sini. Ada 10, di mana di situ kita nampung. Mereka akan menjadi entrepreneur dan akan menjadi tenaga kerjanya. Ditampung. Saya harus dapatkan minimal 2.000 untuk mencetak 100 startup. Jadi nggak bisa kita mau cetak 100 startup, kita cuma ngelola 100. It will come to 10 nanti cuma.
Tapi itu kan berarti ada filtering yang luar biasa ketatnya ya untuk mendapatkan 50 minimal 1.000. Apa kira-kira yang menjadi membuat misalnya orang ini atau tim ini berhasil sementara yang ini gugur? Dan kebanyakan itu gugur.
Selama 3 bulan itu kan ada perjalanannya. This is not about bukan training, bukan juga workshop. Memang ada silabusnya, tapi penggemblengan sebenarnya. Penggemblengan saya bilang.
Selama berapa?
3 bulan.
3 bulan.
Ya, tiap weekend aja. Itu dikasih PR, dikasih PR, dikasih PR. Kadang-kadang mereka ada yang 2 kali nggak datang ya quit. Kalian nggak komit. Commitment is number 1 for being an entrepreneur ya. Dan siapa yang gembleng? Minimum kita kasih yang gembleng itu juga entrepreneurs yang sudah menjalankan kegiatan bisnisnya 3 tahun. Jadi harus entrepreneurs. Nah di situ seleksi ada parametersnya. Oke,
dan rata-rata mereka dari mana latar belakangnya yang ikut?
Banyak fresh graduate, latar belakang macam-macam, bisa ada yang teknologi, ada yang ekonomi.
Mereka harus apply atau
waktu kita keliling itu mereka nanti
apply.
kita buka booth situ siapa yang silakan daftar. Harus dari mereka. Tapi kita kasih opportunity sedemikian lebar.
Nah, kalau depan yang 100 ini yang jadi setiap tahun mungkin harusnya semakin lama semakin bertambah, tapi kan pasti antara yang sudah lulus ini tidak akan semuanya kan menjadi sesuatu yang besar atau berhasil. Nah, BEKRAF sampai kapan bisa membantu atau memfasilitasi dan juga
selama BEKRAF ada. Karena isa continuous ya terus ya. Silicon Valley juga 50 tahun gitu terus bangun. Karena nanti beberapa dari mereka juga ada yang gugur atau merger atau sekarang kita harus siap itu that's business ya.
Dan BEKRAF juga nanti bekerja sama dengan angel investor atau venture
capitalist. Di acara ini banyak ketemu
untuk membantu ya.
Yes, venture yang mereka tertarik. Tadi pagi saya ngomong this is a great opportunity.
Pak Hari, memang kita banyak sekali anak-anak muda, kreatif, terbukti ya. Tapi secara keseluruhan, apa kendala yang paling ini besar lah bagi khususnya entrepreneurs atau young entrepreneurs serta young startups yang ada di Indonesia?
Oke, tadi kita punya ada 3 sebenarnya. Access to funding, government regulation.
Nah itu yang sampai sekarang masih bongkar pasang kan.
Kita lagi ada satu deputi akses permodalan sedang bekerja sama dengan otoritas jasa keuangan untuk menggarap itu. Nah di ekosistem startup yang bagus itu untuk startup ada keringanan pajak, untuk venture capital yang membiayai juga ada keringanan. Kita sedang berjuang untuk seperti itu sehingga ada insentif-insentif.
Nah regulasi itu kan penting juga ya, apalagi kalau misalnya suatu model dari bisnisnya kan sudah digunakan oleh masyarakat. Ini saya berpikir mengenai misalnya Gojek, Uber, dan aplikasi transportasi dan lain sebagainya. Kira-kira ke depannya ini regulasi dan startup ini bagaimana peran BEKRAF untuk
memang regulasi biasanya selalu tertinggal dengan inovasi. Maka di BEKRAF ada satu deputi yang namanya deputi hak kekayaan intelektual dan regulasi. Inilah yang akan menjembatani itu. Waktu itu dengan transportasi online ini juga ya kita tahun lalu ikut berperan untuk tidak melarang. Karena this is the new model. Ya, dan kita kalau kita itu tutup kreativitas akan tutup juga. Nanti tidak ada kreatif lagi di Indonesia, tidak ada bisnis lagi, karena yang kita takutkan adalah brain drain.
Iya, betul. Mereka pada lari keluar dan menyumbang kepada ekonomi negara lain. Tapi biasanya para regulator bagaimana? Mereka tanggap nggak atau sudah mulai paham
Sekarang
bahwa
mulai tanggap,
dunia itu sudah berubah?
Sekarang, dan walaupun ada masih jalan panjang, tapi akselerasinya terjadi ya. Karena if we don't do that, we will die. Itu aja. Optionnya apa sih? Die.
Biasanya kan kalau kreativitas, entrepreneurship dan lain sebagainya itu juga talent itu kan sangat tergantung pada lingkungan juga dan peluang mendapatkan pendidikan dan lain sebagainya. Nah, Indonesia kan kita tahu kan sangat timpang ya. Mungkin banyak sekali di Jakarta sekolah-sekolah bagus dengan anak-anak muda yang entrepreneurial. Tapi di Indonesia secara keseluruhan, bagaimana membuat sinergi dengan institusi pendidikan supaya mereka juga diajarkan mengenai how to be an entrepreneur, khususnya how to set up a new
Ada
startup.
beberapa universitas mulai membawakan nuansa entrepreneurship, belum semua. Dan kebetulan saya juga suka ke mereka. Saya kasih tahu bahwa apapun itu ke fakultas teknik atau ekonomi manajemen, saatnya sekarang membawa materi kuliah entrepreneurs dan creativity, because the next economy setelah kemarin adalah creative economy, experience economy, yaitu masa depan kalau kita tidak antisipasi. Beberapa universitas mulai mengajarkan seperti itu ya, mulai ada.
BEKRAF sendiri tidak kolaborasi atau kerjasama?
Ada deputi yang deputi pendidikan, ada kerjasama kampus dengan ITB, dengan UI, dengan UNS, dengan UGM, termasukkan itu. Harus. Nah, di luar itu juga yang tadi BEKRAF Developer Day adalah mengisi keluaran universitas dengan yang dibutuhkan industri dengan skill-skill tambahan. Itu online.
Global Ventures Summit ini, bagaimana Indonesia itu dilihat oleh kacamata para investor asing pada keseluruhannya? Apakah mereka melihat, wah ini potensi pasar yang sangat-sangat menarik dan di mana mereka bisa ikut juga?
Saya ketemu beberapa venture capital, crowdfunding, segala macam. Juga tadi ada beberapa startup yang ada di Indonesia, tapi sebenarnya dia orang asing. Dan sudah ada 3 tahun. Tadi datang ke saya anak muda dari Kanada, kantornya di Bendungan Hilir. Dia udah tahu. So why did you came here? Kita tahu, saya dikasih tahu teman saya bahwa the opportunity is big. Jadi mereka udah mulai sadar. At least 3 tahun yang lalu. Nah, sampai ini diadakan berarti ada ini kan asapnya, apinya udah ada sebelum hype-nya. Udah mengatakan bahwa Indonesia demikian seksi. Tadi pagi saya opening speech saya bilang, we are one of the country in the world that have growth more than 5% a year. You have looked to it. Nggak banyak negara Eropa nggak segitu, saya bilang.
Kita agak unicorn juga.
Ya, makanya. This is sexy. So, saya bilang, our value proposition is, coba bekerja sama dengan our talented people, bring your investment, we give you our market. We both get benefit.
Tapi merupakan tanggung jawab dari kita semua, khususnya BEKRAF, untuk menciptakan talent-talent itu, sehingga ya tidak terjadi brain drain. Dan kalau orang lain investor masuk ke Indonesia juga tidak ketinggalan.
Dan ya, pokoknya semuanya ujung-ujungnya kita tetap kedaulatan negara tetap ada. Siapapun boleh masuk, tapi kita yang ngatur mereka gitu ya. This is our house.
Ya, dan transfer of technology, know-how, fundingnya.
Ya, kita kan ada beberapa yang kita juga harus dibantu. Kita belum tahu teknologi ini, ada funding ini. Open aja.
Oke, 5 tahun dari sekarang, berapa kira-kira jumlah startup yang ingin Pak Hari lihat ada di Indonesia?
Startup teknologi punya target pemerintah itu ada 1.000. Dan untuk create 1.000 kan di tengah-tengah ada yang gagal-gagal. Itu 1.000 nanti yang jadi gitu. Ya. Tapi saya ingin sih lebih dari itu ya. Nih gini, sekarang the best country yang punya entrepreneurs itu 2% of the population. Kita baru 1,6. Yeah. Saya hitung-hitung untuk ngejar 2 itu perlu 1,5 juta entrepreneurs lagi. Banyak. Nah, yang startup mungkin sebagai, tapi masih banyak.
Ini bisnis bukan satu mati 1000 tumbuh, tapi justru 1000 mati 1 tumbuh. Harus punya.
Hambatannya masih banyak. Ya. Mungkin di keluarga juga ada hambatan. Ya, tiba-tiba seorang ibu nanya ke anaknya, ngapain kamu? Kapan dapat gaji? Pertanyaan begitu.
Iya,
apalagi calon mertua,
iya,
calon mertua nanya,
lamar di bank
nah,
aja
gitu kan.
atau cari kerja kantoran, gajinya tetap dan
dari kecil juga sekolah
bulan.
Kita kan tidak diajarkan untuk jadi entrepreneur. Dari kecil kita sekolah bilang, ibu ke pasar beli ikan, ibu ke pasar beli, selalu diajarin beli, nggak pernah diajarkan jual. Kita harus bangun itu.
Ya, kreativitas itu memang bukan sesuatu yang gampang ya ternyata. Di situ harus ada ininya lah, nafas yang lebih panjang, apalagi kalau kita cepat bosan kan.
Nah itu apa disiplin-disiplin harus kita bangun. Iya. Kadang-kadang kreator juga kadang-kadang cepat bosanan, nggak bisa. Kamu harus persisten.
Iya. Apalagi kalau kita meminta bantuan uang dari para investor yang mereka ingin melihat komitmen. Ya.
Investor pertama melihat the foundersnya, baru produknya. Kan dia kan ngasih duit. Ya. Saya percaya gak? Dia punya kekuatan.
Oke. Hari. Terima kasih banyak.
Terima kasih.
Sukses ya. Semoga
sama-sama.
BEKRAF sesuai dengan misinya, ya membangun industri kreatif di Indonesia. Jadi kita memiliki begitu banyak manusia-manusia kreatif sehingga tidak perlu lagi menjadi manusia konsumtif saja, tapi jadi manusia yang produktif ya. Sekali lagi terima kasih ya, demikian insight kali ini, semoga bermanfaat ya bincang-bincang kita kali ini dari Global Venture Summit di Bali, dan mudah-mudahan juga akan membantu melahirkan ide-ide kreatif yang ada di Anda, karena tampaknya semakin lama semakin banyak para investor tertarik untuk memberikan bantuan biaya funding terhadap ide-ide tersebut. Demikian saya Desi Anwar bersama Insight. Terima kasih atas perhatian Anda.